Hello, chess players and enthusiasts. It's me, National Master Jesse James Lozano, and today we're going to be looking at one of my favorite openings during Halloween. That's, of course, the Halloween's Gambit, Trick or Treat. This is a very fun opening that gives away a piece for the initiative in the center and even some attacking chances. Black definitely has a way to refute this, but they do have to play correctly to defend against all the threats that White has. And they do have to know a few important moves to make sure that the defense does go correctly and smoothly. This first game we're going to be taking a look at is one of the games where Black does not play the best defense, and well, White just has fun here. So let's go ahead and enjoy this game and learn a little bit about the Halloween Gambit. Here we're going to be starting off with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, knight c3, knight f6. The Halloween Gambit comes from the 4 knights opening. And here we go, trick or treat, here we go. Knight takes e5. White gambits a whole piece here. Whoever came up with this is very creative and very courageous, I give you that. After knight takes e5 here, Black does have a few choices about declining the gambit. Although I highly recommend that you take it and just learn the few moves that we need to get an equal game, if not a winning game, with the defense of this whole gambit of the knight. Some people do get scared here and will not take the gambit. There's actually a way that's pretty interesting that you can transpose into a Stafford line, which is basically playing bishop to c5 here. And after this, White most likely will just go ahead and take. And after d takes c6, this is one of Eric Rosen's lines of the Stafford Gambit, which is pretty cool. So you're more than welcome to try this out if you like. You can try to switch it back on the Gambitier and gambit back toward them. Another way to play, which probably is maybe even easier, is just something to play like bishop to b4, which is another way to play. After knight takes c6, d takes c6 can get played, and, well, the game is pretty much very similar to the Stafford, except a more positional line, threatening knight, the bishop takes, and then knight takes on e4. So, I will recommend that you go ahead and take. So let's go ahead and take that free knight. Knight takes on e5, and here it's White's turn. Throughout these games, I always recommend that you push pause during certain questions, so you're more than welcome to do that. If not, enjoy the show and learn some new things about this opening. Here, what is White's best move? Hopefully it didn't take you long to find this one. This one is the easy and good strong move of pawn to d4. The reason why we control the center is to push back our opponent's pieces. So d4 is a very strong move attacking this knight, and now Black already has a hard time playing this. Like, what does he play here? I recommend that you definitely play these Halloween Gambits against maybe some weaker opponents towards yourself, or even in blitz games or bullet games. I play these typically in bullet and blitz games against experts or 2000s and maybe even higher. And I get some very fun positions because, well, if you don't know it that well, you're going to have a hard time. Already here, Black needs to know the best move here. There's 3 different choices here, which is knight to g4, knight to g6, and of course knight to c6. Hopefully you didn't think of c4 as well. You're just dropping your piece right away. So what do we play here? g4, g6, or c6? Feel free to take a look and see which one do you think is best. Well, if you thought it was g4, unfortunately you just lost your piece back right away. The Halloween Gambit can be a very treacherous opening. So after pawn e5 right here, you're going to be losing the piece back right away. Remove the defender, not too hard to find right here. This knight, if it stays there, it gets captured. If this knight moves away, then, well, our queen just takes on g4. So, knight going to g4 is not what we would recommend here. Here we're going to be taking a look in this game, the second best move, which is to play knight to c6. And we'll see in this game how that theory goes on. Here, the best move for Black for defense is to play knight to g6. And here the computer's already giving this as a negative 2.4. So it's basically saying, hey, you're up an extra piece here. You should be able to survive. I'll show you some very fun lines on how to attack this one. Definitely look at some of my other videos where I'll be going over the knight g6 main line and what's the proper defense for this for Black. Well, let's take a look at the fun game where Black did not know the best move and played knight c6 here. Here, White is going to create a very strong attack, and hopefully you see the move. There's 2 main moves you should be looking at. It's either e5 or it's d5. Again, whenever you control the center, you want to push back your opponent's pieces. What's the move right here? It is actually pawn to d5. Pawn d5 again kicks this knight, and the knight is questioned where to go. If you're thinking knight to e7, I'm not sure if I like that one too much. In fact, I think that's just a force White's already better in this position after e5. And where is this knight going? I guess it's going to go back to g6. You could have gone there earlier, so there's no need to give some extra tempos with that. Typically, there's two main moves that get played here: knight to e5 and knight to b8. Knight b8 does get played in these lines, but white gets a winning position. After knight b8, pawn to e5, knight goes to g8, and then white has the devastating move of pawn d6, which actually does happen in this game. If you can remember this idea for white when you're playing Halloween's Gambit, then you should get a lot of wins. Let me just show you that other line that gets played, which is knight to e5, which actually does happen in this game, which is the best defense. Here, white gets pretty much almost the same idea happening, where you get a pawn to d6. So, how do we push back our opponent here and create a strong center? There it is. It's pawn to f4, attacking the knight again. Here, the knight jumps back to g6. Let's keep pushing forward. Pawn to e5, again attacking the knight. And the knight really has nowhere good to go. Everywhere it's going to get captured, so the knight has to retreat to g8. I mean, if you're just looking at this right now, you were thinking, wow, am I really down a piece here as white? A lot of people will play this, especially people that like to attack, because even though you are down a piece, you have plenty of compensation for it. You have three good pawns in the center, both bishops are able to get out, and you have a knight developed. Now let's take a look at black. Black does not control the center. His pieces have all been pushed backwards. These knights are still in trouble about being pushed. Not right now, as you can see, because knight takes, but this is something that they have to deal with. Here, white is just in a great position to attack. Do you remember the idea I was telling you? You should be playing here as white to make the attack even stronger. Hopefully you do. It's pawn to d6. Let's go ahead and play this move. What does this move do? Well, this move does quite a bit. This pawn is definitely the strongest pawn on the board. Black has tried not taking, although taking is what most people will play here. So c takes d6, e takes d6. What does this pawn do? Well, already white is threatening queen e2 check to win a piece back. Notice that, well, the king has nowhere to move to, so you have to actually block, and yeah, white will win back the piece with a better position. So this pawn is already threatening to win back a piece. Another thing this pawn threatens is, well, a bishop can't even move out. So this bishop has a hard time moving out into the game, which is going to delay castling, and there's an open file right headed toward this king. White has plenty of attacking chances. Black plays queen to b6. Another way to play is queen to f6, although pretty much the same thing will be happening. With the queen moving out, you're giving your king an escape square to go d8 so you don't lose the piece back right away. Again, it takes a certain type of personality that likes to play these positions as black. I know if I'm playing this position as black, I would not be enjoying this. There's some people that don't mind making these kind of defensive moves the whole game. I don't find that fun. Although there's plenty of strong players that do. So, e takes d6, and here black played queen b6. Here, the best move of the position, the only way to keep holding this forward. Here, we're going to hold onto the d6 pawn, and we're going to be making a threat. Knight to b5, a beautiful move here, maintaining the pawn on d6, and also threatening knight to c7, check, winning the rook. Here, black is again put into a difficult situation. It has to make a choice here. What do you play here? Give up the right to castle. King to d8 is really your only move here. Anything else just will not keep up to par. In fact, the computer's already given this as an even position right now. And when I say even position, the first of the top 5 moves is, so if you play perfectly, you're even. And the other 4 moves are giving white a +1 up to 3 advantage. So here, I would definitely say this is going to be a very fun game for white to play. Black, not so much. So knight b5 got played. Black played king to d8. Let's keep up this attack. Here, typically, white will play something like f5. The knight goes to e5, and we develop our bishop to f4. Pawn to f6, and then queen d2, with the idea of castling queenside so we can defend the d6 pawn. Again, if we maintain this pawn, you can see that the black army is actually separated into 2 halves, right? This is not good for them. And white is still holding and maintaining the advantage. Here, white in this game got a little bit more creative and went off the regular path and played queen to f3. I can't tell you why this move was played, but I can tell you it was played. I mean, I could tell you it was probably played to play bishop b3, but the problem with this is, hopefully you see it already, black just takes back the pawn. So black wins back the d6 pawn, and you should say, well, black's doing pretty well here. And he is. But again, white has so much momentum in this game, it's very hard to play. Here, white went ahead and did his idea, which is bishop to e3. bishop to c5, and it didn't take white long here to make the best moves. It was just bishop takes, queen takes, and of course, let's get our king to safety. We're going to be castling queenside. Here, black still has plenty of mess on the board, so he needs to try and clean this up as fast as possible. Black is going to go ahead and develop knight to h6. I think the problem here with going knight to f6 is, well, the knight's going to go to d6 here and threaten this knight to f7 right here. So that's why black tried to get ahead of the game with playing knight to h6, guarding this f7 pawn. So knight h6 got played, and white still plays that beautiful move, knight to d6. If you weren't thinking about playing knight to d6, definitely think about why this is such a good move. Why is knight d6 such a good move? Well, notice that this knight is definitely the best piece on the board, controlling a lot of squares over here. This is why they call the knight the octopus, because, well, with 8 arms like this, you're just going to be reaching across and controlling the whole board. It's going to stop this bishop from being developed so easily, because the pawn can't get out, and it's also not letting the rook get out. If the bishop can't get out, the rook has a hard time getting out. So the knight is just a beautiful piece here, and definitely the strongest one on the board. Black went ahead and played king to c7, definitely trying to get out the way, definitely trying to get these other pieces into the position. Bishop c4, developing with the threat. Pretty nice, easy move here, attacking on f7. I would say white's not really trying to win the f7 pawn, but just trying to develop with the threat right now. Black went ahead and played knight f5. Of course, black would love some trades here. Unfortunately, by trying to trade so fast, he's going to give white the opportunity to get some more free temples off this queen. The position was actually winning here for black until this move. Knight takes, queen takes, rook to d4, getting ready to double up the rooks and also protect this f4 pawn. Black went ahead and played d6. Now this is a must move right here, trying to bring the bishop out. Again, if you can get your bishop out, now you're going to have your rooks connected, and you should be able to defend this position. Here we go. Rook h to d1, developing with a threat. Black plays bishop d7, and unfortunately this wasn't an accuracy. The computer is giving rook to d8 here, just defending the pawn right away. Black was probably thinking, you know what, I'll give away this pawn, but I should be able to get out my pieces, and with my piece play, I'll be able to defend. Well, unfortunately, that was not the case with this game. After bishop d7, white finds the idea. If you take on d6, I think black had in mind bishop c6, and this is doing definitely good for them. Queen c3, and I don't see how to continue the attack here. The dark squares are a little bit weak, but black can just trade the rooks off, and now, well, you just up the whole extra piece here. So, white cunningly found the right idea, which was not to take on d6, but to play pawn to g4. White also, the computer also gives this interesting move, queen a3. Bringing the queen takes on d6 is quite a different story here, because it's also going to be attacking the bishop and also looking for some checkmate ideas, which actually kind of does happen in this game. So g4 was played here to bring the queen away. Well, if you don't take, these pawns do get very annoying, so black went ahead and took the pawn, but now white is winning. Queen to d5, looking to take on d6 with the queen. Black goes ahead and plays rook to d8. If you're asking what was wrong with queen to e6, be careful. Queen to a5 check gets played, pawn to b6, and then queen c3 can be a little annoying to deal with, as now you're threatening the bishop, but also maybe just moving the bishop away because the queen will be attacking the king. So black went ahead and played his rook to d8, and now it's just game over here. Feel free to push pause and see if you can find the winning continuation. Well, hopefully you found it. Here we start off with queen takes d6. King only has one move to go to, which is king to c8. And now the very nice and easy move here, bishop takes f7. Now, bishop takes f7 is not about winning the pawn. It's about getting the rook over to c8. I mean, to c4 check right here. And after that, the game is just going to be over. It's not so simple to try and play something like bishop c6 because, well, hopefully you see the move now. Bishop e6 is just going to fork the king and the queen. And without moving that bishop, well, what do you do here? Black tried queen f3, but the game ended very fast. Rook c4 check, bishop c6, and now bishop e6 check again. Here, mate is in 3 moves. Rook d7, bishop takes, king d8, bishop takes c6, king to c8, and, well, checkmate in 1 here. the beautiful bishop takes f3, bishop takes d5. As long as you're moving this bishop away and allowing the queen to guard and this rook to attack over here, it's just going to be checkmate. Well, hope you enjoyed this fun Halloween Gambit game. Again, this was the second best line with knight c6. Next time we'll be looking at the main line with knight g6 and how we should attack and defend when you play against the Halloween Gambit. Thank you.